Hey everyone, ready to give those brains a workout. Sometimes I find myself just staring at, like my bookshelf. I have no idea why I even walked over there.
It happens to the best of us, but that's why we're here.
Right, to dive deep into brain health, and not just the usual stuff.
Exactly. We're talking about going way beyond those quick fixes.
Think of it as giving your brain an upgrade.
Exactly. We're focusing on what really makes a difference based on real science, not just fads.
So first things first, the whole body connection. What does that even mean for brain health?
Well, think about it. Your brain isn't isolated. Everything's connected.
So to have a healthy brain, we need to think about our whole body.
Exactly. Your physical health, emotional well-being, even your gut health. It all plays a role.
It's like a whole ecosystem.
Exactly. And we have so much more control over our brain health than we think.
So where do we start with this whole body approach?
Lifestyle. Things you can control that have a huge impact.
Like what? Spill the beans.
Sleep, movement, nutrition, and managing that stress.
It sounds pretty basic, but I bet there's more to it.
Oh, absolutely. Let's start with sleep. It's more than just feeling rested. It's like a nightly spa treatment for your brain.
A spa treatment. I like the sound of that.
Your brain gets to detox, recharge,
Yeah.
and it's when it really consolidates memories.
Oh, okay. So how much sleep are we talking?
Aim for that 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep every night.
I know. Easier said than done.
Yeah.
I've definitely felt that brain fog when I'm sleep deprived. It's like my brain is running on fumes.
Because it is. When you don't get enough sleep, your memory, attention, decision-making, even creativity, they all suffer.
Yikes. Okay, convinced. 7 to 9 hours it is.
Good. Now let's move our bodies. I'm sure you've heard that exercise is good for your brain.
I mean, yeah. But I always thought that was more about, physical health.
It's both. When you move, you increase blood flow to the brain, delivering all that good stuff it needs. Oxygen, nutrients, you name it.
Ah, okay. So it's like giving your brain a boost.
Exactly. Plus, exercise releases those feel-good chemicals, those brain-boosting chemicals like endorphins and BDNF.
So even little things like taking the stairs or going for a walk can make a difference.
Absolutely. Every bit counts. Think of it as small steps for a healthier brain.
Love that. Okay, what about food? Give me the brain-boosting grocery list.
Think of your brain as a machine, a very complex one.
With lots of moving parts.
You need to give it the right fuel to keep it running smoothly. And that means a balanced diet packed with all the brain-boosting nutrients it needs.
Okay, so what's on the menu?
Those omega-3 rich fish, salmon, mackerel, sardines, they're loaded with DHA and EPA, the essential fatty acids your brain needs to function.
Okay, got it. Fish. What else?
Colors, fruits and veggies, especially berries.
Berries. Check.
They're full of antioxidants that protect your brain cells from damage. And don't forget about those leafy greens, spinach, kale. They're full of folate and B vitamins.
Okay, I'm seeing a theme here. Healthy, colorful food.
Exactly. And you know what else is good for your brain?
Let me guess. Broccoli.
Dark chocolate.
Sold. See, eating healthy doesn't have to be boring.
It really doesn't. Now let's talk about the not so fun part, stress.
Ugh, yeah. That's a constant in my life, it seems. But how does stress actually mess with our brains? I know I feel frazzled and forgetful, but what's actually happening?
Think of it like this. When you're stressed, your body releases a surge of hormones, like cortisol. It's designed to help you cope. But when that stress is constant, those hormones are elevated all the time and they can start to damage brain cells.
Really? Damage.
I know, it's a bummer. It can impair memory, even shrink certain areas of your brain, like the hippocampus, which is, super important for learning and memory.
Okay, wow. Stress management is suddenly sounding way more important.
It really is like a termite infestation slowly chipping away at your brain's foundation. So we need to find those healthy ways to manage it.
Okay, give me those stress-busting secrets.
Well, first, you got to know your triggers. What sends your stress levels through the roof? Once you know what they are, you can try to, avoid them or at least cope with them better.
Right. But what about the stuff you can't avoid?
That's where those stress-reducing techniques come in. And we're not just talking meditation, although that can be super helpful. Think nature walks, biofeedback, deep breathing, anything that helps you unwind and recharge, really.
So it's about finding what works for you.
Exactly.
That's great. Okay, so we've got sleep, movement, food, and stress management. Those are like our brain health foundation. What else can we do to really give our brains a boost?
Let's talk about cognitive reserve. Have you ever heard of it?
Cognitive reserve. Rings a bell, but I'm not sure.
It's like a brain savings account. You build it up throughout your life by doing things that challenge your brain. The more you put in, the more resilient your brain becomes as you get older.
Okay, that makes sense. But besides puzzles and brain training apps, how do we actually build that reserve?
It's about novelty, challenge. Think about learning a new language, picking up a musical instrument, even tackling a complex DIY project. Anything that pushes your brain outside of its comfort zone makes it work.
So it's not just about staying busy. It's about choosing activities that actually make our brains sweat a little bit.
Exactly. And the more diverse those activities are, the better. It's like cross-training for your brain.
I like that. Variety is the spice of life and brain health.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I can't help but think about something we often overlook: social connection.
Ah, yes, that's crucial. A sense of purpose and strong social connections. Vital for maintaining brain health.
So loneliness is actually bad for our brains.
I'm afraid so. It's been linked to cognitive decline and an increased risk of dementia.
Okay, wow. So we need to make time for connections. But what if, our social circles aren't that big?
There are lots of ways to boost those connections. Volunteering, joining a club, even just making an effort to have deeper, more engaging conversations with the people in your life.
That's great advice. And speaking of connections, I'm curious about the gut-brain connection. That's been getting a lot of buzz lately. What's the deal with that?
It's fascinating. Emerging evidence suggests that a healthy gut microbiome, all those trillions of bacteria living in your gut, can actually influence brain function and even mood.
Wait, what? The bacteria in my gut can affect my brain. That's crazy.
I know, it's still being studied, but we're learning more about how those bacteria communicate with our brains through the nervous system, immune system, even by producing certain metabolites. It's wild.
So it's not just about what we're feeding our brains, it's about what we're feeding our gut too.
You got it. A healthy gut, a happy brain.
Okay, so how do we make sure we're taking care of those trillions of tiny friends?
Prebiotics and probiotics. Prebiotics are like food for the good bacteria. You'll find them in fiber-rich foods like fruits, vegetables, and whole grains.
Okay, fiber. Got it. What about probiotics?
Probiotics are the actual good bacteria. You can find them in fermented foods like yogurt, kimchi, and sauerkraut.
So we're talking kimchi and sauerkraut for brain health. Who knew?
It's true. Now, before we wrap up this part, let's recap.
Okay, good idea. We've covered a lot.
We've talked about the whole body approach, how brain health is connected to everything else going on in our bodies.
We went through the basics: sleep, exercise, nutrition, and managing stress.
We even touched on some really cool stuff like cognitive reserve and the gut-brain connection.
It's empowering to realize that we have so much control over our brain health.
Absolutely. And there's so much more to explore.
I can't wait.
Welcome back to our Brain Health Deep Dive. Ready for more?
Definitely. I feel like we've already given our brains a good tune-up, so what's next on the agenda?
How about lifelong learning?
Lifelong learning.
Yeah.
So you're saying we should, never stop learning new things?
Exactly. It's about having that mindset, being curious, always thirsty for new knowledge.
Okay, I can get behind that. But how does that actually benefit our brains?
It keeps you mentally engaged, challenges you to step outside that comfort zone.
So instead of just, passively taking in information, I should be actively seeking it out.
Exactly. And it can take so many forms. It's not just about formal education.
Like what? Give me some ideas.
Online courses,
Yeah.
workshops, listening to podcasts, even just good conversations that make you think.
I actually signed up for an Italian cooking class the other day. Does that count?
Absolutely. See? You're already on your way.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're all different. Our brains are different. Does that mean we need to find, individualized approaches to brain health?
You're reading my mind. What works for one person might not work for another.
Makes sense. We can't just follow, a one-size-fits-all brain health plan.
Nope. We've got different genetics, lifestyles, health histories. We need to pay attention to what our own bodies and minds are telling us.
So it's about experimenting and finding what works best for you.
Exactly. You become the expert on your own brain.
I like that. Speaking of experts, when should we be talking to doctors about our brain health?
Oh.
I mean, we all have those senior moments sometimes. How do we know when it's actually, something to be concerned about?
It's always better to err on the side of caution. Talk to your doctor about any concerns you have, especially if you're noticing changes in your memory, mood, or ability to do everyday tasks.
So early detection is key.
Absolutely. The earlier you catch any potential issues, the better the chances of managing them effectively.
Got it. It's all about being proactive. Okay, this might seem like a weird transition, but can we talk about head protection? I know, helmets. But is there more to it?
There is. We often focus on those big injuries from accidents, but we forget about those smaller impacts.
Like if I bump my head getting out of the car.
Even those seemingly minor things can add up over time. They can contribute to cognitive decline and increase the risk of neurological conditions.
So helmets aren't just for, like, extreme sports.
Exactly. Anytime there's a risk of head impact, consider wearing a helmet, even playing basketball.
Okay, good to know. What about falls? Especially for older adults.
Falls are a major cause of head injuries among seniors. Removing tripping hazards, installing grab bars, and focusing on balance and strength, those things can make a huge difference.
Right. So brain health isn't just about mental exercises. It's about protecting our physical brains too.
Exactly. Now let's loop back to stress. I know we touched on it earlier, but it really is a huge factor when it comes to brain health.
I know. It's everywhere. But I'm still not totally clear on how it actually affects our brains.
Remember that fight or flight response. When you're stressed, your body pumps out those hormones like cortisol. In small doses, they're helpful, but chronic stress keeps those hormones elevated, and that can wreak havoc on your brain.
So it's actually changing our brains, not just how we feel.
You got it. It can lead to inflammation in the brain, which can damage brain cells. It can even shrink the hippocampus, that area important for memory.
Yikes. Okay, so stress management is a must. But besides meditation, what else can we do to protect our brains from stress?
Mindfulness is a great place to start. Even a few minutes of deep breathing each day can help calm that nervous system.
I've been trying that meditation app you mentioned. It actually is pretty helpful.
That's great to hear. And remember, mindfulness isn't just about formal meditation. It's about being present in your everyday activities.
Right. So like when I'm washing dishes, I should be really focusing on the feel of the water, the smell of the soap.
Exactly. And don't forget about nature. Spending time outdoors can do wonders for your stress levels.
Agreed. Nature is definitely my therapy.
And creative outlets. Painting, writing, playing music, whatever sparks joy and helps you de-stress.
I used to play the piano. Maybe it's time to get back into it. Okay, so we've got mindfulness, nature, creativity. What about food? Does that play a role in stress management?
Definitely. What you eat can have a huge impact on your mood and stress levels. Avoid those processed foods and sugary drinks. They can send your blood sugar on a roller coaster and make you feel even more stressed and anxious.
So back to those brain-boosting foods we talked about earlier.
Exactly. A balanced diet with plenty of fruits, vegetables, and lean protein can help stabilize your mood and give you the energy you need to cope with stress. And you know what's been getting a lot of attention lately? The link between low-fat diets and brain health.
Oh yeah, I've heard about that. I
Yeah.
used to be all about low-fat everything. But now I'm wondering if I was actually doing more harm than good. Tell me more.
Well, it turns out that our brains actually need healthy fats to function properly. They're essential for building and maintaining brain cell structure, producing neurotransmitters, and even protecting our neurons from damage.
So cutting out fat completely is actually bad for our brains.
It can be. You know, for years we were told to avoid fat like the plague, but now research is showing that healthy fats are crucial for brain health.
This is a total game changer. So which fats are we talking about?
Think about those omega-3s we mentioned earlier, found in oily fish like salmon and mackerel. Also, those monounsaturated fats found in avocados, nuts, and olive oil.
Okay, got it. Healthy fats in, unhealthy fats out. It seems like balance is key when it comes to brain health.
You're catching on. It's not about extremes or restrictive diets. It's about nourishing your brain with a variety of nutrient-rich foods, including plenty of those good fats.
This is all making so much sense. Before we move on, I just want to say how fascinating this all is. We've covered so much ground today, from the basics of sleep, movement, and nutrition, to these deeper dives into cognitive reserve, the gut-brain connection, and the impact of stress and head injuries.
It's amazing how much power we have to influence our own brain health through our lifestyle choices.
It really is empowering, and I can't wait to see what else we uncover in the next segment. And we're back, ready to put all this brain-boosting knowledge into action.
I'm excited to share some practical tips and strategies. Let's turn this wisdom into action.
Yes, let's go from couch potato brains to, learning machines.
That's the spirit. Let's recap those foundational pillars we talked about.
Okay, sleep, movement, nutrition, and stress. But how do we actually, put those into practice?
Start with an honest assessment. Are you getting those 7 to 9 hours of sleep?
Honestly, Not consistently. I tend to sacrifice sleep when I'm busy or have a lot going on.
I get it, but remember, sleep deprivation is like robbing your brain of its much-needed downtime. That's when your brain consolidates memories, clears toxins, and prepares for the next day.
Right. So what are some practical tips for better sleep hygiene?
Try to stick to a regular sleep-wake cycle, even on weekends. It helps regulate your body's natural rhythm.
No more sleeping in on Saturdays. Bummer.
Consistency is key. Also, create a relaxing bedtime routine, something that tells your body it's time to wind down, like a warm bath, reading a book, or listening to calming music.
That's nice. What about the bedroom environment? Does that matter?
Absolutely. Make it dark, quiet, and cool. Blackout curtains, earplugs, or a white noise machine can help.
Okay, noted. Now what about movement? How much exercise do we really need for our brains?
Aim for at least 30 minutes of moderate intensity exercise most days of the week, and it doesn't have to be anything crazy.
So no marathons required.
Nope. Brisk walking, dancing, swimming, gardening, all good options.
I like that. Finding things we actually enjoy doing.
Exactly. And don't forget about those little bursts of movement throughout the day. Take the stairs, walk to the store, get up and move around every hour if you have a desk job.
Got it. Stay active. Now let's talk food. We've already covered brain-boosting foods. How do we actually make sure we're eating them regularly?
Think color and variety. Load up on those leafy greens, colorful fruits and veggies, and those omega-3 rich fish we talked about.
I've already swapped out my afternoon candy bar for a handful of nuts and berries.
That's great. And remember, moderation is key. Enjoy those occasional treats, but focus on those brain-nourishing foods for the most part.
Okay, so we've got sleep, movement, and nutrition down. What about stress management? It feels like stress is everywhere these days. How do we deal with it without, losing our minds?
It's not about eliminating stress completely. It's about building resilience, developing those healthy coping mechanisms.
So like learning to surf those stress waves without getting wiped out.
Exactly. Mindfulness practices like deep breathing or meditation can really help.
I've been using that meditation app you recommended. It actually helps. I feel calmer, less reactive.
I'm glad to hear it. And remember, mindfulness isn't just about formal meditation. It's about bringing that awareness to your everyday activities.
See, like being present when I'm washing the dishes.
Yes. And don't underestimate the power of nature. Even a short walk can do wonders for your stress levels.
Nature is definitely my happy place.
And creative outlets. Find something you enjoy, something that lets you express yourself. Painting, writing, music, dancing.
I haven't played the piano in years, but maybe it's time to dust it off. Okay, so we've got mindfulness, nature, creative expression. What about food? Does that play a role in stress management?
Absolutely. Avoid those processed foods and sugary drinks. They can make your blood sugar spike and crash, leaving you feeling even more stressed and anxious.
So sticking with those brain-boosting foods we talked about.
Exactly. A balanced diet can help stabilize your mood and give you the energy you need to cope with stress.
This has been such a great deep dive. I feel like I have a toolkit now to keep my brain sharp and healthy.
And remember, it's never too late to start. The choices you make today can have a huge impact on your brain health in the years to come.
So dear listeners, what's one brain-boosting activity you can commit to this week? Maybe try that new recipe with those brain-healthy ingredients we talked about, or dust off that old guitar. Whatever it is, take that first step and embrace the power of your amazing brain.
Keep learning, stay curious, and keep those brains buzzing.
That's it for our deep dive into brain health. Thanks for joining us.